Hello, universe. Welcome to the most spectacular wrestling podcast you will find on the internet. You are listening to Tag Me In, bro. I'm Joe Tantillo, and as always, I'm seated next to my terrific co-host, Taryn O'Connor. Say hi to the people, Taryn.
Hi to the people, Taryn.
If you're new to the show, the format is simple. Each week, we discuss all the magnificent moments, turbulent times, and stunning surprises that professional wrestling has to offer.
So turn your radio up and your opinions down, because we've got some hot tags coming up NXT, which means next.
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Happy Wednesday, Tag Me In Bro universe. Welcome to your SmackDown recap of Tag Me In Bro. I just want to start by saying, thank you guys so much for the patience you've had with us over the last week. For those of you who may or may not have known, we did have a departure from the Tag Me In Bro family. John is not a part of the company anymore. He won't be doing Raw. He certainly won't be on SmackDown. And we've just had a couple issues with some growing pains as far as getting him off of accounts, getting him to willingly leave accounts, and getting him to gracefully separate from the group. So thank you guys so much. I know it means we've had some weird tweets. I know it means that John was on our freaking Twitter because we couldn't get the password changed fast enough, and he has access to those things. So I just wanted to say thank you guys. As of now, as of the SmackDown Live Go Home show before SummerSlam, Tag Me In Bro is 3 people. It is Joe, it is Tommy, and it is myself. So thank you guys for that little bit of clarification. But just remember that you don't want to miss out on one single second of Tag Me In Bro content. Go on Twitter right now and follow us at Tag Me In Bro. Our goal is to hit 10,000 followers by Survivor Series. We are almost at 8.5, and that is all thanks to you guys. We put up a lot of exciting content. We do polls. Check it out, especially this week. If you haven't followed us, go follow us, because we're going to put up all of our polls for our prediction series that we have for SummerSlam. We want you guys to vote. We want your voice to be heard. And so go follow us at Tag Me In Bro. And now I hope you're excited for the show, because it's about to go down in a big way. Today, tomorrow, and every day, we are talking wrestling. So first things first, if you're new to the show, we'll cover our SmackDown speed through, where we'll give you our analysis of the most important bits of last night's show. After that, we've got our Hi to the People segment, where we want to engage with you guys to find out more about your views on which SmackDown Live title match you think will steal the show at SummerSlam. And then we're going to move on to our main event, where we'll be talking about the question on everyone's mind this week. And then we will close out the show with our stars of the night. This week, the question on everybody's mind is that the Miz and Daniel Bryan package. Totally amazing, but was it an effective way to build a feud, or was it the process of some weird bungling? But we'll talk about that much more later on. And now let's get to our SmackDown speed through.
Woo!
Here are the only 5 things you need to know about SmackDown Live this week. Number 5, Aiden English jobs to Andrade Cien Almas. Number 4, Jeff Hardy beats Shelton Benjamin and Randy watches. Number 3, AJ Styles' wife wrote a letter to Samoa Joe. Number 2, the Becky-Charlotte split continues. And number 1, the Miz and Daniel Bryan video packages. Okay, so overall, what I will tell you is I think that this go-home episode of SmackDown didn't present a lot of new information. It didn't solidify a lot of new information. So we're going to blow through some of these, because honestly, it got to a point where it was like whatever I remembered from the episode made it on the top 5, because it was not entirely memorable. So number 5, Aiden English came out. He was like, I'm going to make amends to Rusev and Lana by beating Andrade in what was like a literal 2-minute match. Andrade squashes the shit out of Aiden English. And then what really happens is that Rusev and Lana get to come out. Andrade and Zelina Vega get to be like, ha ha ha, this universe loves, like, she said catchy phrases instead of catchphrases, which was like kind of, it's not incorrect, it's just not colloquial, so it sounded kind of strange. But she was like, y'all like catchy phrases and useless holidays. Well, get ready, because on Sunday, Rusev Day is going to be canceled. Lana Day is going to be canceled. Then Rusev and Lana came out and were like, no, it won't. boom, over, yay. They're going to be on the pre-show with the Cruiserweight title. Arguably the most interesting part about this is how Rusev continues to, like, troll the WWE by tweeting about it. And he was like, I'm so honored to be on the pre-show with the Cruiserweight title. And that was honestly the best part of the whole segment. And it didn't even happen on TV. It happened on Twitter. Number 4, Jeff Hardy beat Shelton Benjamin. I love Jeff Hardy's new character, so it's fun to see it come out. But really, they had Randy stand behind like the Jumbotron like barricade thing at the top of the ramp and watch. And that looked weird. It looked abnormal and strange and not scary, just weird. Shinsuke came out, so Jeff Hardy obviously won. Shinsuke came out after the match, tried to throw Kinshasa and got twist of fated instead. So Hardy is left looking tall at the end of this match, and Orton is left looking confused and lost. Great, just what we wanted for our heel Randy. Number 3, this is where we start to get to some kind of interesting stuff at least. AJ Styles came out to make a promise. They're like, AJ Styles is going to make a vow to the SmackDown universe. And you're like, what's going on? Why would he wrestle? Just because I know they're trying to save this like moment. They have really enjoyed billing the last few AJ Styles matches as like not only these dream matches, but with that very specific wording of like for the first time in a WWE ring. And so I get that they don't want him to fight Samoa Joe, but like it's arguably weirder that the main event was just talking, you know? Like I don't feel like that ends the show on a very satisfying note. But he came out to be like, I'm going to defend my championship. And Samoa Joe came out and was like, you were so angry that I brought up something so personal about your family, and I received this letter from a fan, and it's like, Samoa Joe, your words made me sick to my stomach because they were all true. Signed, AJ Styles' wife, Wendy Styles. Which, first of all, like, Wendy Styles cannot possibly be a real name. They should have just changed it altogether and made it like Electra Styles, because at least it sounds more wrestling-y. But AJ didn't really respond. He was just like, that's a joke. And like, then Samoa Joe, I guess, was left standing tall, but like, it's such a weird way for them to finish out the build up to this like feud before SummerSlam, because it was going really well. It was going so well. AJ does so well on the mic when he gets to talk about something emotional, and like his family, like he was doing so well with that. Samoa Joe is an incredible mic talker, promo giver. Like he's an amazing talker, and he had made this feud feel so important. It didn't matter to me until this week that we had not seen them wrestle at all. And that is purely due to how well they had cultivated the emotion behind this feud. And this week, for Samoa Joe to finally come out, for AJ to like, not have a physical response. If it is truly like his wife's letter, for him to not have a physical response and like try to like hit Samoa Joe, like didn't make any sense. For this to come up in a way where we just won't know. We won't know, like, is this or isn't this a real letter? Are we meant to assume it is because it sounded really odd? Like, so bizarre. I think it left this feud at a very unsatisfying place going into SummerSlam. I'm still excited for the match, but honestly, last week's show could have been the go-home show and I would have been happier. Moving on to number 2, Becky and Charlotte. The reason that the number 2 moment is that the split kind of continues is because that is the most interesting part of this feud, and it's being done incredibly well. So Carmella came out, Becky and Charlotte also came out. They had a face-to-face for their triple threat match. A lot of chatter on this week's episode of SmackDown Live. And Carmella, like, Charlotte had this incredible promo, I actually thought it was so good, where she was like, you are a diva in a woman's era, and you cannot hang, like, with the rest of this division. And Carmella was like, you're right, I am a diva, and I'm beautiful, and you're not, which I thought was lame and horrible, and it was such a bad response. And not just a bad response in terms of, like, not bad, like, love to hate her because she's a heel. Bad, like, that's what we gave her. Like, those writers looked at her and literally said, like, she's right. You can't hang with the rest of the women in this division. And that's what you're going to admit. Like, that is so counterproductive. And also, if that's what they were going to admit this whole time, why did she have to beat Asuka? Why did she have to beat Charlotte Flair? Like, I thought the argument that Charlotte's promo poised about like, you can't hang, so that's why you have to cheat, and you can't hang, so that's why you brought back James Ellsworth, like, was strong and valid and had some arguably very like salient points that could have been responded to if someone had like literally half a brain cell and wanted to respond. And it just appeared that they didn't, which is such a shame. But the best part of this match was that Paige came out. Paige has been handling this beautifully also. She came out and said that Charlotte and Becky were going to have a tag match against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, which they obviously won. But the best part about it was that at one point in the match, Charlotte had everybody hyped for the hot tag. Becky looked like she needed the hot tag. And instead of going to tag in Charlotte Flair for the big pop and what would have, very foreshadowingly been a big boot and a big finish, Becky stayed in the match, refused to tag, and came back to win with the disarmor, which was amazing. And in the back, they had this nice little segment where Charlotte was like, you don't have to do it all on your own. And Becky was like, I know, but I did. And so just really nice little seeds being planted for this hopeful Becky Lynch heel turn on Charlotte Flair. So I thought that was very, very well done and was one of the few segments from this week's episode of SmackDown that made it really interesting to watch and made it really like exciting for Sunday. And lastly, last but absolutely not least, our number one moment from SmackDown Live, so good that we made it our main event for this week, is the Miz and Daniel Bryan video packages. So there were 3 separate packages that the show did that they ended up calling 8 years in the making, like the Miz and Daniel Bryan feud, basically. And the first segment was about NXT, back when NXT was more of a reality show. Now, like, the reality show is Tough Enough, or was Tough Enough. I'm not sure if they even still record it. But where NXT was basically there were rookies and pros, and a rookie got paired with the pro because Daniel Bryan, who had been, an indie darling, came in and was a rookie, and his pro that he got paired with was The Miz. They do an excellent job of presenting both, like, people's opinions, both people's sides. It looks so good. And it basically gives the Miz's perspective on how Daniel Bryan never won a match in NXT because he refused to listen, and Daniel Bryan's perspective on how the first match he ever won was against The Miz on Monday Night Raw because that's when he started being his own person and no longer had to listen to The Miz. That's the first segment. Done and dusted. So good, so fab. The second segment that comes about is back to the, probably, like, at this point, one of the most famous moments in SmackDown Live history, or SmackDown history, and also WWE history, which is that Talking Smack promo, where Daniel Bryan talks to The Miz and is like, you remind me of what they call that soft style of WWE wrestling. And The Miz, as we all know, goes after Daniel Bryan, and does the whole, like, if you really cared, you should quit and play the bingo halls, but you've lied to your fans. You promised them that you would come back, and you're never coming back, and you won't do the manly thing, and either man up and own it and let them know so that they stop getting their hopes up, or you know what? If the WWE won't let you wrestle in somewhere else, we'll go there. Incredible. We all know it. That even that little clip does not do it justice. That little clip, as completely mimicked by me, like, does not do it justice. Go watch it. That was their second package. The third package is essentially the feud that they've built now, and that idea that like during their time since Daniel Bryan has been cleared, that The Miz is like, oh, it doesn't matter that you were cleared. I made you famous. I'm better than you. Blah 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 blah. And Daniel Bryan presenting the, opinion that he's like, The Miz thinks that I am just here. Like, The Miz is only here to have big houses and celebrity friends and be a movie star. And he thinks that that's the only reason I've been cleared, is to try to do that same thing. He doesn't even know me. That's not the reason. The reason that I'm here is because I could not live without this in my life. Which was a fabulous ending. And it kind of sets us up in this way where you're like, well, at SummerSlam, we're going to find out whose life philosophy is correct in these two very opposing ideologies that The Miz and Daniel Bryan represent. And it was super, super exciting. It was nice. It was like an impeccably done video package. Their editing team obviously works so well, and I feel like rarely gets the opportunity to do this kind of thing that we'd almost see for, like, the network. It was so, so good, and left me on a note where I am super excited. That match is as important as it should be for SummerSlam. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's been your SmackDown Live speed through. We thought the episode was honestly pretty weak for a go-home show, but the card for SummerSlam is so packed and so stacked with excellent matches that it might just be enough to let us forgive it. But let us know your thoughts on social media. Speaking of social media, it's time to say hi to the people. This week on Hi to the People, we want to know your thoughts on which SmackDown Live title match you think will steal the show at SummerSlam. We'll be running a Twitter poll for the next 72 hours and discussing the results here on the show next week, so let us know exactly what you think. You can vote on Twitter by tweeting at us and using the hashtag #HotTag. You can email us at tagmeandbro@gmail.com. and share your opinion and maybe have your thoughts read out on the show. Every week we read out some of our favorite responses. And speaking of responses, now we're going to talk a little bit about the results of last week's topic. So last week we asked you guys what you thought about the odds that every single SmackDown Live title would change hands at SummerSlam. The booking had kind of been as such that everyone who was a challenger looked poised to potentially take over. But you guys voted. Thank you guys so much for your votes. And 50 in like a really narrow margin, 53% of you guys said no. 47%, that means said yes. And we know like there's always going to be a slim shot that that's the thing that actually happens. If you're a betting gal or guy, I would say it's always safe to say no. But what I'm really interested in are some of the comments. So the real DC at the not fake DC said AJ retains the other two titles will switch hands. And the authors of wrestling at Off of Wrestling said the only titles I really see changing hands would be the tag titles, honestly. And Marvin Thomas said agreed. Other than the tag titles, he doesn't see any titles changing hands. Super interesting because that means in that world where only the tag titles change hands, it means AJ retains and also Carmella retains. But the real DC's argument would say that AJ retains and that the Bludgeon Brothers will lose their titles and that Carmella will lose her championship. All of them are pretty plausible. Keep a head up because we're going to be putting up our predictions episode for SummerSlam so you can hear a little more in-depthly about what the Tag Me In Bro group thinks about our predictions for SummerSlam. Also, keep an eye on our Twitter because we're going to put up our prediction series because we want to know what you think. So don't forget to vote. And with no further ado, it is time for our main event. This week on our main event, we are going to be discussing that video package, or rather that series of video packages, meant to kind of prep and pump us up for the feud between The Miz and Daniel Bryan. We're going to be talking about whether or not that video package was there purely as the cherry on top of the sundae for SummerSlam, or whether it was kind of the result of some bungled booking from the point of Daniel Bryan's return. So joining me for this main event is my co-host, Tommy. You can say hello now.
Oh yeah, hi, how's it going?
Oh, hi. So Tommy, this week, obviously, we saw 3 different video segments that were kind of done as, you know, the past 8 years in the life and feud of The Miz and Daniel Bryan. What do you think, A, like the purpose for that was, and B, do you think the purpose was, purely for the sake of capping this off, or do you think it was due to some potential fear and tension that people wouldn't think the match was exciting?
Well, I think those are really the two sides of the argument, right? When it comes down to it, I am of the mindset that this promo package exists as a way to kind of smooth everything over, because it's been a little bit of a rocky time since Daniel Bryan's return. We all remember, unfortunately, like the Big Cass feud, which was his first feud coming back, did not make Daniel Bryan look great, made Big Cass look so bad that he was fired. It wasn't a great feud, and in this promo package, it skipped over completely. Obviously, Big Cass no longer in the company, probably not cool to use his likeness. Though in the package we saw a lot of wrestlers who have been on ins and outs with the company in the promo package, like Ryback and Stu Bennett, whose name, Bad News Barrett. A lot of these people have been fired from the company for whatever reason, but they were in the promo package. But they very much did not put Big Cass in there. And I think there's a good reason for that, because when we see Kurt Angle come out and say, hey, the former general manager of SmackDown Live, Daniel Bryan, wants you, and that was the last thing he did as general manager, is make sure that you come to SmackDown Live, that's the way it should have been. We should have gone from that right to, on SmackDown, the next night, Daniel Bryan coming out and beating the shit out of The Miz. And that is not what happened. We had this little distraction to kind of maybe test the waters to see if Daniel Bryan still had it. Obviously he did, but it's a little bit of revisionist history in my mind. That is important because this is a big money match and I am super hyped for it, but you lose a little bit of mystique around this feud when it has been building for 8 years, but like right at the finish line, you kind of tripped over a little bit. So for me, that's what this promo package was about, was kind of rewriting history for the purposes of the WWE Network collection that will be The Miz versus Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't those packages almost feel like they're like, oh, sweet, we have the intros already recorded?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Like that's exactly
redo it.
what this is.
Yeah. No, and I think that the omission of the Big Cass feud is a really good point, because I feel like it almost has this familiarity that goes back to when they realize streaks are happening.
Yeah.
You know how they have a feud like the Undertaker streak or like Charlotte Flair's streak or Asuka's that kind of naturally started to occur, and at some point they're like, oh shoot, we've got this thing, we've got to like pump it up right now.
Yeah.
And I think in your I think it's a really good point that in like omitting it, it's like what would be the point? Like what would be the benefit? And it's that in that moment they're kind of like, oh no, we had this perfect feud, boiling and brewing, and we kind of messed it up for a second. We got to go back and fix it. And I think that's really interesting. I do think that the video packages have some potential. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to call them an upside, but some very valid reasoning for happening in this show specifically. And I think, honestly, that a lot of it has to do with, I think it's kind of a dual-edged argument, but that, one, it has to do with the fact that we are only doing dual-branded pay-per-views now.
True.
And that coincides with the fact that they can't give away this match for free. So in saying, like, how do we not give this match away for free? Because it is something that wrestling fans have been waiting for. We've been patiently waiting and biding our time. Daniel Bryan getting cleared meant that from the moment that announcement occurred, we were ready. Like, we were salivating, we were chomping at the bit, we wanted this match. And in knowing that, from a business perspective, you have to say, we can't give that away for free. This has to happen on a pay-per-view.
Definitely.
But in the creation of the dual-branded pay-per-views, you don't have a B-rate pay-per-view to kind of build these mini-feuds or prolong these mini-feuds. And coming up to SummerSlam, which is, SummerSlam of the Big Four is in theory like, it's the second of two, It's going to attract way more casual fans who maybe have heard that Daniel Bryan's back, have maybe already not seen the Big Cass feud, who maybe didn't really see it when Daniel Bryan was feuding with The Miz as general manager, who probably never watched NXT when Daniel Bryan was on it. And I think that for those casual fans to secure and assure that you are going to get the reaction that you want at SummerSlam, I can imagine that some of these writing teams, some of these backstage people were sitting there saying, how do we make sure that they know all of this? What's a way that we can get this across? Because what we cannot do is put them in a mini match. Yeah. Because to put them in a little match and give everyone a taste of it, to get that spark and that buzz going, we'd really need a backlash.
Absolutely.
You want a backlash. You want an extreme, not even Extreme Rules, because now that, in the dual branded, it got to survive. But you want that almost little tiny B Vengeance pay-per-view, that's only 2 or 3 hours and only has a couple matches, but they're big matches, but they let us practice some things. Those are the things that would allow us to feel that excitement and would let casual fans feel that excitement, because a lot of casual fans do still watch the pay-per-views if they don't watch Raw or SmackDown week to week.
Yeah.
And I feel like the big bonus of this package is it's an easy thing to put on YouTube. It's an easy thing to tweet out on social media. And it's an easy way to protect the match and say, we're not going to have them wrestle before SummerSlam because this is a big money match, while still making sure that everyone who has seen that go-home show, everyone who does follow the Twitter account, not just the Twitter, and everyone who's on like the WWE YouTube page has that background information available to them.
I totally agree, and I don't mean to say that like it's not a fantastic video package. It totally is.
Oh yes,
it just like it is a great video package. The series of 3 are fantastic, and it will, in some form, in a shorter form, play before their match, as these video packages do before matches on pay-per-views, to get us hyped and remind us what's happened, and then this is how we got here. I just think, just to repeat what I was saying before, like, they are rewriting history to make the match better, and they do a really good job of it. I just think it's important to remember they did trip before the finish line a little bit.
I think that you are 100% correct. I think that this package wouldn't need to exist if the booking had been better from the beginning of Daniel Bryan's return. And I think that you make, I think the big casting is such an excellent point to make, because simply I think it shows that like they bet their money on the wrong horse. Yeah. And in doing so have now probably had to spend way more money and compromise a lot of storyline to make up for it.
Absolutely. And I think there is something to be said for taking the perspective that this going forward will be what is remembered. And I think they are kind of like hedging their bets for the future in that way. And I think that is really smart. It is a little bit regretful that this video package couldn't be what is truly the greatest video package ever. That is like, we got here, you know how we got to this match. Let's remind you of all the other stuff that you might not have seen because you didn't watch wrestling yet, or you didn't watch NXT. All of this stuff would be a cherry on top. Mm-hmm. But damn it, Big Cass.
Yeah. So
truly,
the real point of the main event is we still hate Big Cass.
Always have and always will.
That I think that has been a great chat. Some super interesting points. We can't wait to hear any thoughts you guys might have. Let us know on Twitter. Did you think the video package was effective, or did you think it was kind of a last resort? Tweet at us at TagMeInBro. And now we're going to finish the show the way that we do every week with our Stars of the Night.
Now it's time for our Stars of the Night. Honorable mention goes out to the Triple Threat, those 3 kids who went up against the Bludgeon Brothers, and honorable mention on our Stars of the Night for getting murdered on live television. Well done, guys. But our number 3 Star of the Night is Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe came out when AJ Styles was like saying, "Hey, don't talk shit about my family," and he read this letter from AJ's wife, Wendy Styles, and obviously totally a fake letter, completely made up, but gosh, it's like really cutting and biting, and Samoa Joe is truly an amazing talker in all senses. The writers know what his voice is, and his delivery is just so on top of everyone else's. They haven't necessarily needed to wrestle because he can talk so very well. Our number 2 Star of the Night is The New Day. The New Day went up against Sanity in what was a pretty good match. Not the best that we've seen from them. Probably the best that we've seen from them was their feud from last year with the Usos, and then that last week's match with The Bar was amazing. But they are just continuing their momentum. I really want them to win. I really don't like the Bludgeon Brothers. Not just because I don't like them as characters, but they don't like them. I very much want the New Day to win, and they continued their momentum going forward. Shout out to Killian Dane's new singlet. I guess we want to pay more attention to his junk, and God, that singlet, really, let's not talk about it. Our number 1 Star of the Night this week, the video editors. The unsung heroes of the soap opera that is professional wrestling. In WWE, we rely on them to remind us where feuds have been and how we get to each match as they come on SmackDown, on Raw, NXT, or on pay-per-views where we rely on them the most. This 3-part video package that played throughout SmackDown Live, kind of detailing the history between The Miz and Daniel Bryan, was masterfully made. They really dug up those things that we wouldn't remember if we were younger and we just have these things go out of our mind. And this is a truly pay-per-view caliber level of video editing and kind of digging up the history and presenting it to us in such a way that you can't help but just be super hype for SummerSlam. Yeah, it was amazing. Video editors, you deserve it. That's going to do it for us here at Tag Me In, Bro. Thank you for listening. Hop on any of the place that you get your podcasts. Give us a 5-star review if you liked us. Give us a 5-star review if you didn't like us. And if you really didn't like us, give us a 5-star review. We'll be happy to see it. Thank you guys so much for listening. And from me and my co-host, Taryn O'Connor, happy ticket holders for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 this Saturday. Goodbye, Universe.